Welcome to the Digital Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. It is your host, Asif Ali. I'm joined today by my co-host with the most, Cortez Branch Jr., and we are here dressed up. Even I'm dressed my Niners attire, but we already talked about them sorry-ass motherfuckers yesterday, but this ain't no sorry-ass motherfuckers. Number 5'2", Patrick Willis, the most
Patrick Willis.
baddest motherfucker to play linebacker, in my opinion, who I ever witnessed to play, next to obviously number the other 52, Ray Lewis, considered the GOAT. So, and obviously Urlacher, we can't forget big old Brian. So let's just get right into it, bro. Survivor Series, was obviously a hit. Monday Night Raw, which I just finished watching this morning, was also a hit. So let's go ahead and talk about both. Actually, do you want to lead off with Raw, or do you want to lead off with Survivor Series as a recap?
Um, let's start with the Survivor Series,
Let's start with Survivor Series. Okay, let's start with
and
Survivor
we'll make
Series.
our way to Raw.
Yeah. Obviously, you had the women's elimination match, a great match. I was honestly, y'all don't crucify me for this, but I was not that tuned in to the women's elimination match. It just felt like a bunch of stars thrown together, which is great. I mean, you got Rhea, you got Bianca, you got, Bailey, then you got, Liv, you got, Nia, you got Tiffany Stratton, the next in line, right? So I mean, it made sense, obviously, like, so Io Sky, right? Good match. Obviously the face team won. I wasn't really that. It was a good match, right? That was good. Other women's action. I can't remember what else was there. Was there any other women's matches on that on the card Survivor Series? I think there was one or two more.
I'm trying to think. No, I think because you got to remember that the Survivor Series that we are used to
Mm-hmm.
is no longer a thing. So there's
Right.
like premium live events, pay-per-views, they're not a thing either. The way that they used to be. We're getting
Mm-hmm.
about five matches. So like you had both War Games matches. You had the World Heavyweight Championship match. You had the Intercontinental Championship match, and which there's one more match, wasn't there?
Yeah, IC match and US title match,
Yeah, the U.S. title match.
and
Okay, so
obviously
yeah,
Bloodline versus OG Bloodline. So let's
yeah. So
kind of
we can start at the beginning. Let's start with the women's match.
yeah, we just did. So I thought it was good. Lots of stars. What was your take on the women's match?
I think that Nia Jax is getting a little bit too much heat,
Mm-hmm.
and if you watch the match, which you did, I did, and I think that the people who didn't necessarily watch it the way that we watch this wrestling sport that we watch
Mm-hmm.
would not understand that Nia actually did a favor to the women's division by not creaming everyone with that chair.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now I know it looked a little bit wonky, but like the entire match, a lot of the girls, women, a lot of them were out of place,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
especially when they were getting in, and they didn't know where they put their things. They didn't know their cues. A lot of them were missed, and the timing was thrown off. And I have to give it to the professionalism of Nia Jax on keeping that match together because I don't think that the match would have stayed together without Nia.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think Nia has actually really come into her own as kind of being like, the elder stateswoman, especially in the women's division, both, Raw and SmackDown. Nia has come a long way from being, the botch machine, that she used to be to kind of now kind of really, being a really savvy veteran to kind of work and make everyone around her better, which I think is the true kind of like, quote unquote, the quarterback, right, of the women's division, right? I mean, Bianca was holding that title for some time, obviously. Rhea really wasn't. Rhea was kind of like Charlotte, just running through everyone, dominating, not really making anyone look
Well,
good.
that
And
was what
then
my problem was with Rhea's reign, and you know this too. My problem with Rhea's reign is like up until the feud with Liv Morgan, like Rhea wasn't really threatened at all.
she
And
wasn't. And I mean, like the really what was kind of symbolic of that was the match against Raquel before Raquel came back to join forces with Liv, as a heel. When Raquel was a face, and then last year I think it was SummerSlam, whatever it was, and then obviously like she faced up, she went up against Liv and Dom. That sorry, not Liv and Dom, Ray and Dom. I mean, Rhea went over clean, and Raquel Rodriguez is a powerhouse, bro. Like, and Rhea did, I mean, I forgot her finishing move. What you call it, like kind of like the pump handle slam, kind of, what do you call it? The Rhea,
Riptide.
the Riptide, right? Like, would anyone really buy that if it wasn't a PG audience? Like, would you or I buy that if this happened to Attitude Era? Like, for example, let's say I don't know. Let's say let me think of like a dominating woman from the Attitude Era with this aggression era. Let me think. Okay, let's say Lita, right? Lita in the peak of her women's title reign. She goes over clean on China because they actually had a match like that, and Lita just dominates her. From like from the bell from the moment the bell rings, and Lita just kind of does the hurricanes everything, but then she also like dominates her. Like China is not able to mount any offense. Like I can't buy that. You know what I mean? Would you buy that? No.
No,
China's not one of the like. So that's kind of like the issue I have with Rhea's reign. Obviously, she was great. And it was great when she went over on Charlotte, but because Charlotte was doing the same thing. But I really, again, we have to give it to Nia. Nia is kind of really making her opponents look great. She's obviously evolved as being a much more safer worker. Since she came back, and yeah, I'm looking forward to. And one more thing, obviously, Tiffany had the opportunity to cash in. She did not. I'm looking forward to when Tiffany actually does cash in. I mean, maybe maybe they want Tiffany to have a WrestleMania moment. I don't
I
know.
think that it's either going to happen at the Royal Rumble or it's going to happen at WrestleMania. I don't think it happens anywhere else. There's a possibility that it happens at Elimination Chamber, but the way that it's looking, she's going to be in that match.
Right. And that's the issue because if she is in that match, I don't know what to make of it. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be like, I don't know how to say it. I want
Well, let's
Tiffany.
pause this. There's what, six people for that match, right?
Yep.
What six women would you put in that match?
I don't know.
You
No,
got to
I mean,
have, I mean, because there's only going to be one, right? There's not going to be a separate survivors or separate elimination chamber match. There's going to be the one women's elimination chamber, one men's elimination. There's not
right.
going to be
No,
four elimination chamber
yeah,
matches.
no. I mean, like, I don't really like. I want Tiff to like, because, like, for example, like, I mean, and I'm not gonna rip off Cody, but if she wants to quote unquote finish her story, like, she has to go over with Nia one on one. Like it can't be like these like gimmick multi competitor matches. Because then if she wins at the elimination chamber, that means that Nia was softened up by four other women, three other
Who
women,
wins?
right?
Who wins Who's going to win the Royal Rumble?
The women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Well, it can't be Tiffy because Tiffy's going to cash in whoever wins. Um, unless Tiffy cashes in prior, which I mean they could potentially do, but WWE now. I mean everything's a PLE. You're not going to see a title change unless it's a PLE.
How
Um,
would I book it? I would book. Oh, this is so hard because as you're finding out in the women's intercontinental title, uh,
mm-hmm,
uh, the women's intercontinental title tournament
mm-hmm,
that was also simultaneously taking place over the last couple of weeks as everything else. So we have multi-layered stories going on right now.
mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
not necessarily we no longer have a linear WWE.
Right. We
It
do
is
not.
more like the Attitude Era than it ever has been in the past. This is more like the Attitude Era than the Ruthless Aggression Era was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you remember, that was the one thing about the Ruthless Aggression Era that people didn't necessarily understand. The Ruthless Aggression Era went from chaos to having a linear story throughout the entire show. And I would say, let's just go to who I would put. I would love to have either Katana Chance or Caden Carter in there, but I can't. And one of the reasons why I can't is because you know uh Katana is an excellent wrestler, but she is so small,
Right.
and she looked credible against some of the other stars outside of her tag team.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw that when she was just in a match this last week against Dakota Kai, and who else was in that match?
I don't even know.
Yeah, it's like, no offense to anyone if we missed them, but it just wasn't a good match. Like there were some good spots in the match, but it wasn't very good. So let's discount them. I'm gonna say Elimination Chamber. It's not going to be for Nia's belt. It's going to be for the Raw Women's title because the Elimination Chamber is historically the World Heavyweight Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would say it depends on what we're going to get because they've been teasing this for months now that Tiffy can't decide on who she wants to cash in on.
Right. And I think, that's why I think, I don't want her to win the Elimination Chamber because of the fact that if she does, or if she wins like a Rumble, right, or whatever, right, like it kind of takes away from like what you mentioned, the linear story, this build.
Well, here's how you can do that though. the
Mm-hmm.
same way they did it last year. The
Mm-hmm.
person who wins the Elimination Chamber doesn't win the title; they win a number one contender spot.
Right.
But I don't really like that, to be honest.
That's the point, right? I think it should just be Tiffy has the cash in, Nia has a match. Tiffy needs to go over by having Nia. See, I guess you could say I'm contradicting myself because I'm saying I don't want Tiffy to be an elimination chamber because I don't want to see her go up against Nia, I guess, who's been softened by five other women, right? But I don't mind Tiffy cashing in on Nia if she has like an actual match, right? Because the reason I'm saying that is I think Nia being cashed in by Tiffy, because how Nia mistreated Tiffy, right? And also the build up, prior to Crown Jewel as well as Bad
Tippy
Blood.
turning face.
Right. I mean, she can turn face, right? I mean, or she can stay heel or whatever. I mean, like, I really want to see that cash in because Nia has, like you said, or like everyone is kind of building up the WWE universe and everyone, right?
Well,
There's
Nia
just
was a
been
face until she won Queen of the Ring.
right. And so what I'm saying is like Tiffy needs to have her moment. He needs to have her moment with Nia one on one, and she needs to know Nia needs to know Tiffy stabbed her in the back to get over on her. That's what she has to know.
So you would keep Tiffy on SmackDown.
Well, I don't care where she is. I just need her to go over on Nia. After that, they can switch the champs, do whatever they want to do in the draft. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, what if we saw a situation where I don't know how I would work that. Um, I think that they do have some very invested interest in Tiffy being on Raw,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just from everything I see on Twitter.
Okay.
But
Yeah. I mean,
I think they want Tiffy on Raw, but I don't think that Tiffy's program with Nia would be over just because she was on Raw.
well, I get that too, right? I mean, like, and that's actually kind of attitude. So ruthless aggression and actually this current WWE is actually more synonymous because I mean, there is some elements of the attitude there, but it's like you said, it's early ruthless aggression because there is a linear over dominating storyline, which is the bloodline, right? And then you have all these
Yeah,
other secondary storylines, and I like the patience and the willingness to stick the ground, like Triple H sticking his ground and not pivoting over, right? To like, just because,
yeah,
instant gratification. Because Attitude Era was always Austin getting screwed over by Vince like every other night, every other month. And then essentially then, but it helped build, the interest, the intrigue, right? So I think even like, yeah, like you said, if Tiffy moves to Raw, they can keep the story going. That's fine. But I think she has to win before she moves. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? I think they have to finish this with Tiffy getting over, and then she can either they can keep her on SmackDown, or they can move her, right? And they can continue the
yeah.
story going after that, right? Like for example, and we'll talk about this on Raw, right? But like kind of what we saw with Seth and CM Punk, right? A whole year long kind of thing of like, Seth shot on Punk saying, Phil, stay away from me. You cancer, don't come back, right? CM Punk comes
Yeah.
back, we saw right after SummerSlam, there was, why did you get involved in my business? Drew comes in, interrupts it, so it keeps the Drew and Punk storyline going, which is, in my opinion, the best storyline of the year up to this point. And now we're gonna get, that Punk and Rollins probably WrestleMania kind of, program. So, but back to the point, I think back to Tiffy, right? Again, I don't care how they do it. I just want her to get over on Nia by cashing in on her after Nia has been decimated. I don't want Tiffy to win it clean in an Elimination Chamber match or a Royal Rumble match because that's going to basically detract away from the storyline. It's going to detract away from her being Miss Money in the Bank. So
Well, yeah, I don't think they should detract from her being Miss Money in the Bank. I don't think that I don't think that it would be me personally. I don't think Tiffy is a good matchup for Nia. I
mm-hmm.
never understood that program. I understand the Mean Girl aspect of them hanging out together, but then like Tiffy's more of a tweener, and it's like she can be mean, but at the same time, it's like you ever had like I mean, you ever had like a mean girlfriend?
Who hasn't?
Like you like her, she's nice, but she's mean. And
That's it.
I kind of feel like that's kind of like how who Tiffy is. Like she's got an attitude, but she's nice, but she's also very mean. You know what I'm saying? And that's
But that, yeah, but that's who she is, right? I mean, at this
right.
point,
That's who
that's what
she
you're
is.
getting with That's
And it's like, but you feel sorry for her when bad things happen to her because you're like, well, she didn't really mean to be all bad. You know what I mean? Even if she's horrible, it's like you think to yourself, like, she didn't really mean to be all bad.
but
She
but
did.
that tells you how good of a job she's doing at playing the character, bro. This is exactly my point. You feel empathy for her when things don't go her way. So you feel empathy for the character Tiffany Stratton, even though Tiffany Stratton's a fucking bitch in every kind of fathomable way.
Her and Nia. Like you feel bad for both of them when things don't go
Well,
their way.
yeah, I don't feel bad for Nia at all. I feel terrible for Tiffany because she's been relegated to being Nia's kind of like, her sidekick.
Her
And like, and
sidekick, yeah.
right. And Nia's been mistreating her, visibly, vocally, verbally mistreating her multiple times on SmackDown. And so this build has been happening. It's been brewing.
So
So
I think
Tiffany,
we see a complete face turn from Tiffy.
whatever. I mean, but again, it has to be the cash in. That's what I'm saying. I
Well,
don't,
I was gonna say this too.
yeah.
So the same way that I feel about the Elimination Chamber needing to be for a title,
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way about cash-ins. I don't think there should be a straight up cash-in. That's not the point of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
The very beginning point of the contract was a surprise cash-in on someone who was weakened and injured.
Right.
Like one of the best people at cashing in was The Miz. You
Well,
know, people might have hated it, but the Miz's cash-in was unique. You know, Edge's cash-ins. Seth Rollins cash-in was like telegraphed, but you knew it was coming anyway. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's the
And
greatest cash in of all time, honestly, because I mean,
it was.
of how they executed it. So
Yeah, like it was. Like, you didn't it needed to happen the way that it happened.
right.
And I do think that if we have a greater impact if Nia has a match and Nia wins. And then Nia's so beat up from the match that Tiffy comes out and beats her with a moonsault. That's it.
That's what
No
I'm
move
saying. No,
set. Yeah.
that's what I'm
No
saying. So
move set, nothing. And or Tiffy's already on the sideline. Let's say Tiffy helped Nia win.
whatever, you know, whatever. I mean, I just think, yeah, it has to be the cash in. Tiffy has,
I'll tell you how I do it.
yeah.
So Tiffy's on the sideline, Nia's fighting whoever.
Right.
Let's say, to be honest, let's say it's the Royal Rumble and let's say it's Jade Cargill.
Okay.
I would accept that all day because Jay doesn't need to win a title right away,
No,
but
she
she
doesn't.
does need to be in the title picture.
Yes,
So
she
if you
does.
want to do a slow build to where you want to know, I would say to break up that tag team because they're not going to lose. To break up that tag team, you would have Jade not know who pushed her onto the car and beat her up. You would have it be Bianca that did it. You would have Bianca then join the Street Profits because they're turning heel. If you haven't realized that they're on the fast track to being straight up heels. So you put Bianca with the Street Profits, and then you have Jade fight Bianca, beat Bianca in the number one contenders match after they've been stripped of the titles. Because let's say Jade's gone for longer than what, because I would say what either Adam Pearce or our boy Magnus.
Magnus, Nick
Yeah,
Aldis.
Nick Aldis, our boy Magnus, he comes and takes the titles from them and says either one of them, preferably Nick Aldis, because I don't think he does as much as far as like being on screen as Adam Pearce. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Adam
So
Pearce is, I will say one thing. People were saying, oh, he was so annoying, so cringe. But again, back to like the Nia thing we're talking about. We got to give Adam Pearce his flowers because him now being like, like the general manager and like right before pay-per-view events, like, you guys want to fight? Okay, we have it. Braun Breaker versus Shen versus Ludwig Kaiser at Survivor Series. Like that's perfect because the
yeah.
pop and the crowd. Like I am watching from my couch and I'm buying into this.
Well,
Like
I mean,
this.
it reminds you of like when. So okay, there's one thing that we want to avoid, and I'm going to be very mean, but also very true.
Okay.
We understand that Triple H is in charge, but Triple H does not have to be a constant presence to be in charge.
Correct.
That's what the general managers are for. The best time that we had is when we had Teddy Long as the SmackDown general manager, and to a lesser degree, Michaels, then Mick Foley, then Kurt Angle. Like the actual general manager role where people respected them and feared them was what we needed to get back. Because I'm sorry, seeing the owners of the company all the time, it's the only way that works if they're in the story.
Exactly. And I think kind of to that point, that's exactly the issue because back to 2000, I want to say Vince being an on-screen character, Vince being on screen was critical during the Stone Cold Steve Austin as well as the Rock and the McMahon Helmsley faction, those feuds and those programs, and as well as the Invasion. Once the Attitude Era concluded the next year in 2002, and obviously the NWO Ric Flair and they basically merged, there was no need to have Vince on the screen anymore, and it felt
No,
very
that's
out
what
of
the
place.
problem was. That's what the problem was, is because he was there, but there was no. That's why we had the wonky, um, the computer general manager, the anonymous GM. That's why we had all the weird win Vince's money stuff, and like even the Bobby Lashley with Donald Trump and Vince shaving their heads matches. Like those, like don't get me wrong, they have a warm place in our hearts because we grew up with them. On top of growing up through the Attitude Era, but let's face the facts here. It was not good. And
No,
I don't think we ever need to repeat that again because it doesn't have its place in the show. And that's why Triple H doesn't always have to be there. Now, is there going to come a time when we see a lot more of Triple H? Yes, but here's the thing about that. Triple H will never have another match.
right, and I
Triple
know,
H,
yeah, good.
he can't have another match.
Right. No,
And
and there's a key difference. Triple H is not what, and I can actually go back even further beyond before WrestleMania 23, before the Donald Trump program, before all that, right? Before the DX stuff, 2003, like literally 2003, after Vince and Hogan had their program, at WrestleMania 19, he should have just fucked off, go off screen, because then what happened was Vince inserted himself into the best feud of that year, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, and it went off the rails in my opinion. Like
Vince
then
didn't
you
need to
get
be there.
Zach Gowen involved, then you get Big Show. Like they have no place. They Sable's involved. There's cheating. Like what is all this shit? Like this has nothing to do with the
It, it,
story.
it, it almost ruined the story.
It did, in my opinion. I mean, it soured it near the end. I mean, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, they're able to kind of compensate and get over it with their amazing athletic talent and their amazing charisma and how great that feud was. But like I didn't get any of that. And then you go to Raw, you see Shane feuding with Kane over Linda. Like what? And then Vince and then Stephanie. And like it made no sense, and that's why, I mean, even though I don't like Dave Meltzer, the McMahons being all over the product in 2003 was definitely the most absolutely the most disgusting promotional tactic. Back to what you're saying, your point. Owners being all over the product is a disgusting promotional tactic. Why? We already know who they are. We know you're the face of the company behind the scenes. We know you're running the show. We know you wear all the hats. We don't need to see you. If you're truly great and your product is that great, sit in the back, watch in the wings, orchestrate everything behind the curtain and gorilla, and let us fans absorb everything from and let us be the judge of how great your product was. It's that simple. So that's pretty much where I stand on it. I agree with you 100%. Triple H is good, not being on screen all the time. I want them to keep that going. I want Triple H to stay off the screen and only come in as absolutely necessary, like when it makes sense, like Randy versus KO. Randy going to Triple H because he needs to get the permission because Triple H actually helped KO become the champion. Triple H helped Randy come in, so it made sense, right?
Now those made a whole lot of sense because it was it was Triple H steering the company in his direction.
Right. And
And he
so
he said he stated that earlier.
he
You know,
did.
the right now we don't need to see Triple H. We do need to see Nick Aldis. We do need to see Adam Pearce, and we do need to see them controlling their brands. And it made hey, get out of there, fuck. It made the most sense for that to happen and for that to go down the way that it did. Now, would I have I would have I would have one of them go out and make these matches. I would have them have Bianca versus Jade for the number one contenders match. Bianca loses the match, whether it be through disqualification.
Mhm.
If you want to protect Bianca, make her just get disqualified and turn heel on Jade during the match.
Is
During the
that
match.
right? Is that
And
simple? Mhm.
then have it come out that Bianca was the one that attacked Jade. But they'd already had been stripped of their titles.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
so they don't lose the titles. They get stripped because Jade's injured. Let's be honest. Neither one of them needs to lose a match to make this a thing. So you don't do a triple threat match. You do a one-on-one match at either Royal Rumble or the road to WrestleMania, the fast lane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you do that. That's what you do. And then you come out of it with, let's say, Jade fighting Nia at WrestleMania, and you have Tiffy on the sideline. So Jade looks like she's going to win the match. Let's say that there's a wonky rope situation where Tiffy runs up and either smacks Jade with the briefcase for Nia, or throws the briefcase to Nia, and Nia either smacks Jade with it, and then, or let's just say something wonky happens where both of them are brutalized, and not, or let's just say that Tiffy goes and puts Nia on top of Jade to win the match. But then she realizes that briefcase is sitting right there. Nia's knocked out. I'm going to moonsault Nia and win this match and win this title. And then she walks out looking uneasy because, yeah, she betrayed her friend, but at the same time, she became champion.
That's how it's supposed to be. I love that, and that's how we do it. And so I want to end the women's segment with this. Great match. Loved it. I am like my co-host and I are talking about. We are too excited to see what happens with Tiffany Stratton and Nia. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Triple H, do not drop the ball. That is a potential moneymaker in your hands. Okay, no, not potential. It is a moneymaker in your hands. Do not drop the ball on that. All right, next match. Let's talk about it. IC match: Sheamus versus Braun Breaker versus Ludwig Kaiser. Braun Breaker retains. I'm a little confused as to why I guess the decision to keep Braun Breaker as champ. I thought it would make sense for Sheamus because Sheamus has never won it, and I thought that was the direction that they're going. Sheamus just needs to win that to become a Grand Slam champion, and so I was very very confused. But I guess whatever. Also, there's a report that Braun Breaker might be working with Paul Heyman soon. I'm also confused why Ludwig Kaiser didn't get to. I mean, if they're not going to let Braun win it, I mean, obviously Kaiser would be a great IC champ, because he's so despicable.
Kaiser's gonna be the IC champ.
Okay.
The thing is, I don't know if Sheamus has a kayfabe injury or if it's actual injury because it was unconfirmed, but they say he has a rib injury. Mm-hmm. Sheamus does, like a cracked rib.
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus has worked with broken ribs before, so I don't think it's going to be much of an issue unless it's real bad, unless it's kayfabe. I think Kaiser's win is going to come as more of a shock,
which is fine. I mean, because Kaiser's a heel.
It might come when Gunther loses the title. Kaiser might win on a show, and Gunther lose on the same show,
which is fine because again, I mean, I don't think Kaiser needs to be with Gunther anymore. Kaiser is really capable as a heel on his own. You know what I mean? And that was kind of the whole program by hitting his fights. Like Gunther said, like, you need to do this on your own. You prove your worth, this and that. And now you see them; they're not even paired together. When Gunther cuts his
Kaiser screws Gunther.
Whatever, I mean, because you see them. Kaiser is kind of in his own program. Gunther's in his own lane when he's cutting promos and building up to his matches. I mean, they're basically like their own, like kind of their own competitors. So that's kind of it. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree.
They haven't came out together. And then like when Gunther first started his run, he always came out with Imperium.
Yeah, and now obviously
even if they didn't go ringside.
I think the writing was on the wall once the draft happened this year, and then Giovanni Vinci went to SmackDown, because once they moved Giovanni Vinci to SmackDown back in April, right? Then that basically kind of spelled writing off the wall. Writing was on the wall for Imperium, and so that's that. So yeah, definitely.
They didn't. I think that's like, to be honest, and this is between me and you, it's bad booking.
Well, it's between you, me, and everyone watching. The 56,000 views.
it's bad booking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So let me pause really quick.
Okay.
I'm here to inform you that it's not 56,000 views.
What is it?
So on the latest analytics that I have, because you're not on the old Blue app anymore, you didn't get to see. The clips of these videos have total over 430,000 views.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for
over 500,000 views right now.
That reminds me
for this show.
I need to link the Blue app for our co-host of the most, Mr. Soul Reaper 24. Obviously, over 10,000 Instagram followers. If y'all haven't followed them, go check them out. But yeah, no, thank you for those numbers. So if you add those to the aggregate of what we have right now, we're basically at 500,000 total views on social media.
We're at 500,000 people watching us talk, even if it's only for 30 seconds.
100%. Watching our clips, watching our content. Thank you all. And 133 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We appreciate you. So moving on, I don't want to talk too much about IC match. It's a mid-card match. I also want to talk about the US title match.
We'll move forward.
Yeah, move forward. U.S. title match. I do want to talk a little bit about this because Shinsuke
Yes.
got his moment at Survivor Series.
Well, it's this what's his second time winning it?
It's the second time winning it, but I think the reason why it's critical is because he needed this win. I mean, because you know how many
It
times
is
he
a
lost
character.
to.
It's a character shift, right?
It is a character shift, and I really think that it's another the real kind of bigger picture for me. It's LA Knight. What's going to happen now with him, right?
Well,
Because
we'll find out. We'll
well,
find out
yeah,
Friday.
yeah,
Because
well,
here's
no,
how it goes. If
well,
Shinsuke comes out with the LA Knight belt, it's going back to LA Knight.
I personally think well, you and I you talk about the Royal Rumble. I personally think there's a plan right there for that man, LA Knight. Yeah, to basically get that opportunity to basically now main event WrestleMania. Now I don't know if it's going to be against Cody. It probably won't be.
I don't think it will be.
I think they're going to move him to Raw if he does win the World Rumble. They're going to move him to Raw and he's going to feud with whoever's the world champion, and he's going to get over. Um, LA Knight's money, man. Let's be honest. LA Knight should not be at the mid card. LA Knight's a main event. Come on. I mean, the guys in the Slim Jim
Well,
commercials. The guy
I don't think
is.
he's gonna. I don't think. Like I said, Friday will tell us everything we need to know
Mhm.
because there's only been one time in history where the belt didn't change back from a custom title, and that was when you had the spinner belt.
Right behind me,
Every other
y'all.
belt,
It's right
e-
there.
e- every other belt has changed back to the original, including the U.S. Championship. But the only one that didn't change was the WWE spinner belt, the title, the world title, world
Yeah,
heavyweight title, the combined title. The unified title was the only one that didn't change back. It lasted for that basically that whole decade.
it did.
And while a lot of people were upset with it, it was a very toy friendly belt, which is what The Rock said. And at the time, that's kind of what WWE needed was to sell toys.
Well,
You
because
know,
two reasons, right? Number one, they had to switch over to PG after the Benoit situation, right?
yeah, they had no choice.
They had no choice. And secondly, Cena was Cena was actually kind of visionary because he was telling Vince like he saw kids coming to the shows, so he had to drop the Doctor Thugonomics and switch over to a Super Cena, right? And so that was also the motivation of kind of keeping the belt and also the moving spinner because he wanted to be kid friendly. Like you said, kid friendly, sell toys. That's the business model. You market to kids. Why are you and I talking about wrestling in our mid 30s? Because we fucking watch it at that age, at 6, 7, 8 years old, right? So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I just think that's kind of it. Like, really, wrestling is a family for like Nick Khan actually made a statement recently where people like because you mentioned Attitude Era. Nick Khan was saying, "Oh, all the adults wanting the Attitude Era push, guess what? You're going to be disappointed because this is still going to be a family friendly product. It's going to be multi generational, and we're still going to. It's all about the money, right? The kids, the if your kids have to go watch a game, like for example, if you have to take your daughter, right? If you have to take your daughter to an event, let's say AEW comes to Rosemont, my man Cortez 2-4, his baby girl wants to go watch the game or watch the show. So then you have to buy yourself a ticket. You gotta buy your baby girl a ticket. And guess what? She's gonna want the foam
Oh,
finger.
my
She's going to.
daughter,
Mhm.
my daughter is a huge Bianca Belair fan, and I did not push this on her. That is just who she likes.
Right. And
And
go ahead. Yeah.
she asked me the other day if she could go and see Bianca. So exactly. So I've taken kids to shows before.
Yeah. Of
They need
course.
a belt. I spent $260 on merch.
Hurts.
He got because her brother he got a John Cena hat. He
Mhm.
got a John Cena shirt. He got a championship necklace.
Right.
He got a title belt. He got the wristbands. He got the dog tags, and he got something else that day. But he got pretty much everything you can get. Oh, the headband too, even though he got a hat. So I spent like $250 on just merch for him. And the funny thing about it is I went to this show and I didn't get anything for myself other than like food.
Yeah. That's
I
exact.
got a Connie's pizza and I got a soda, which
Yeah.
with the collector's cup. So he got a collector's cup too and a pizza. And man, I let's just say that kid got everything that day. And the tickets weren't cheap because you saw where I sat at.
I know.
You saw where I sat at. The tickets weren't cheap. I wasn't necessarily ringside, but I was the next level from ringside. I was
Yeah.
right there in the action, right there in the middle. And I spent probably $800
And
altogether.
that's how much I paid for SmackDown tickets. You know, I mean, bro, that's how it
Yeah.
is. I mean,
And that was like
ultimately,
right after COVID too. Like we were the first Chicago show to have fans since the fans came back when I
mm,
took him to that show.
wow,
And I know it's more expensive now because it's hotter than it's been ever.
right.
So I would say that yeah, Cena was a visionary in that. Cena saw that the kids were coming, and now that you have an edgier crowd, but also the kids can take more now than they could 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see something traumatic happen on screen, and they can understand that hey, it's a show. You know
Yeah,
what
it's
I
funny.
mean?
It's funny you
It's
mentioned
your
that
TV
because I
show.
remember I watched WrestleMania 39. Like fan reactions. One guy basically had like his 8 or 9 year old son watching the show, right? Watch WrestleMania 39, and then Roman gets over on Cody, and then after Solo does Spike, and then his son is like, "What? That's bullshit, Dad."
Yeah,
you
like
know,
I mean, the way we raise our kids is a lot different than how we were raised.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
mean,
I mean,
and it's different now because the information, everything's so much more accessible with social media and everything. It's just like I mean,
yeah, like
everything at their
they're gonna see
fingertips.
it. They have phones, they have TikTok, they have Twitter, and everything else.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's just about monitoring as a parent.
yeah,
I guess we can move forward with that one. But I think that with if Shinsuke comes back with the LA Knight belt, then LA Knight's gonna win it back. If Shinsuke comes back with the previous edition of the U.S. title, then LA Knight's moving on after. But he'll probably get some revenge on Shinsuke, but he's gonna move on to like the Rumble or something, or let's say that he possibly does win the Elimination Chamber because he'll be in it.
yeah, no, yeah,
And
absolutely,
I don't think Cody's gonna be in the Elimination Chamber match. I just don't.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and Cody's
I think it's
odds,
gonna be a Raw match. I think it's gonna be a Raw match, and I think LA Knight's gonna end up in it because I think he's gonna be on Raw come
which makes
January.
sense, which makes sense. I mean, I like
I
that.
could I can see him feuding with the main event title scene is gonna look like this, whether we like it or not. It's gonna be Gunther. It's gonna be LA Knight. It's gonna be Finn Balor. It'll be Damian Priest. It'll probably end up being because KO's not on Raw, is he?
No, he's on SmackDown.
He's on SmackDown. It'll be Jey Uso and either
Sammy,
Seth Rollins, Sammy, or CM Punk in that
right,
match.
right. Mm-hmm.
The only way that you don't see Seth Rollins, Sammy, or CM Punk in that match is if they're all in a quad with Drew McIntyre.
Which is not going to happen. I think the Drew program has basically ran its course with Seth and CM Punk. It's really going to be Seth and Punk slowly but surely building up to the
What do
WrestleMania.
you do with Drew?
Drew can work with Sammy. Drew has proven. I mean, he can hold his own against CM Punk. I mean, he can work with anyone. I mean, Drew's awesome. I mean, I love it.
You
So
keep him out of the title scene, the main event scene. Do you keep him
no,
out of
Drew
it?
can. Okay, what I'm saying is you can keep Drew in the house and he can be in the elimination chamber
But
match.
he's not going to be a title contender.
Right. Well, he will be a contender for all intents and purposes, but he's not going to be in like
A
a one-on-one
finalist.
title
Like
match at like a main event
he's not gonna get he's not gonna get the main event of any of the big four.
because he's already got it. He's already got it multiple times, so he doesn't need it. You know what I mean?
Right. He
So,
doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. I think the chase for him is more important than winning it.
well, I mean, because now that he's already won the belt, it's already elevated him. So now he needs to kind of keep refining the character by doing more programs to prove him as like a versatile. Because that's how it
So
is,
I
right?
couldn't tell from the end of Raw, but did he come back as a heel?
He came back as a heel. Yeah. So
He
now
doesn't win. He
let's
doesn't
wrap
win
this
the
right here
title.
because I really want to get into Raw. Okay, let's wrap this up. Okay. We U.S. title, IC title, World title. Gunther goes over on Damian Priest, Finn Balor again, and we'll get so that's also Raw. So we're gonna just cross that off. That's done. Last match of the evening was the OG Bloodline. Great match, great drama, great theatrics, great spots.
Yeah,
Obviously,
but everybody's injured from it.
well, yeah, and Jacob Fatu basically doing the moonsault off the table, on the table because CM Punk pulled Roman last minute, and then Jimmy Uso doing the frog splash. Gave me Eddie Guerrero vibes. I mean, Jacob Fatu gave me, hey, my man, if you're watching this, Kurt Angle, the goat. In my opinion, right? I mean, the moonsault off the
And
cage.
let's talk about somebody who was horribly booked until like 3 months ago.
Who?
Big Bronson Reed.
Finally, Big Bronson Reed is now in a program that works and suits his character. Like I'm so happy that they got him involved with this bloodline. I
I
mean,
really hope that he stays with them too.
I do too. I really do because it's so great for him to keep building, and keep refining his character, right? And so I mean, and we'll see SmackDown, what they're gonna do,
This
with
story
every.
is not over.
It's
This bloodline story is not over. And I'm gonna hate to break it to everyone. Roman is not gonna fight Cody for that title at WrestleMania, guys. Roman's gonna either do one of two things. Roman's either gonna fight CM Punk for something, but I really think that he's probably gonna end up fighting solo for the Ulafala.
Yeah, well, and so the question is, because if you remember, Michael Cole basically said, like, oh, now, obviously OG Bloodline wins, but now all that's left is Roman getting the follow back, right? That was the last comment from the commentaries booth, to close out Survivor Series, right? So now basically Survivor Series, like you said, it is a prelude to now what's going to happen with obviously the Ulafala and everything. So we'll see how that shapes out. But anyways, yeah. So Survivor Series is great. Now let's move on to Raw. Now let's talk about Raw.
Yeah.
Raw after Survivor Series. The show opens up with CM Punk coming out, basically, then he's pointing out, he's like, there's not a sign here in Seattle, Washington, but like, he's like, can everyone see it?
That was great.
Yeah, it was great. He's basically, preluding to WrestleMania. Seth comes out, he interrupts him. Seth basically says, I should have knocked your ass out the moment you came back last year. But he said, like, you know what? Now it's just you and me, like this and that, like, my business. And so huge all out brawl takes place. Sammy basically comes in. Sammy basically stops Seth, and then Seth basically says, he challenges Sammy's, I basically his morals by saying like, why did you go and help Roman? He's like the whole intent of like, us helping Cody was to beat Roman at WrestleMania and stop the bloodline because Roman's a maniacal, self-obsessed, sociopath, right? And basically, then it's at the about the fact that Roman didn't apologize to Sammy, didn't apologize to Jimmy, didn't apologize to Jay. And Sammy basically and Sammy says he's like you want to blow some steam, you can do it tonight. That's not so they have a match, right? But I really like kind of how Seth and CM Punk they didn't forget any of the when Seth said like I should knock your ass when he came back. That kind of goes back to that shoot promo we cut on CM Punk saying Phil, stay away from me, you cancer, like don't come back, this and that, right? So and then CM Punk and Seth both being from the Chicagoland area, I mean, there's a huge kind of, wrestling and CM Punk being one of Seth's heroes growing up, and inspiring Seth to get into the business. What is your take on this whole, like you said, this quad? Because obviously at the end of their match, which closed out the show, Drew McIntyre came and interrupted Sami Zayn, and Drew and Sami are now basically going to be embroiled in a feud. What's your take on all of it?
Well, it depends. I think that the next two big PLEs are going to determine because we got Elimination Chamber and Royal Rumble. Everything else is kind of like eh.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody that likes the other PLEs, but Elimination Chamber and the Rumble are pretty much what's next.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I believe, yeah, because Elimination Chamber is what at the end of the month.
Yes.
And then the Rumble is in.
Elimination Chamber is next. Elimination Chamber is after Royal Rumble. Elimination Chamber is in February, right? End of the month is going to be. They're going to have Saturday Night Main Event at the end. It's going to be New Year Revolution, I think, right? They still have that.
Yeah.
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 New Year Revolution, then Royal Rumble at the end of January, then Elimination Chamber will be the final kind of thing before WrestleMania.
For WrestleMania in April.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a couple different ways they could go. If I'm gonna maximize, to be honest, I don't want the Punk and Roman program. I don't want it.
There's not going to be Punk and Roman program. No, it's going to be Punk and Rollins.
Yeah, like I really think that the program works best if Rollins wins the title from Gunther because CM Punk called Rollins out, and let's just say that CM Punk doesn't want to fight Rollins. Let's say he ignores him, and Rollins keeps doing lots of little things to like try to piss CM Punk off.
Mm-hmm.
But CM Punk keeps saying, "I don't want to fight you because you have nothing that I want," and then Rollins finds his way into winning the Rollins finds his way into winning the match.
Mm-hmm.
or to winning the match with Gunther, or Gunther loses that title to Finn Balor, which I do think that should happen. I think Gunther needs to lose, and I think Ludwig Kaiser needs to screw him, and Finn Balor wins it next weekend.
Yeah, no, I
And
mean, but that's the issue with kind of us saying there's the attitude era element. There really isn't because
yeah,
you haven't seen a major title switch hands on Raw.
you haven't.
No, I mean, we talk about the
No.
IC belt when Jay won, but I mean, that doesn't, in my opinion, that doesn't really count for
Yeah,
shit.
that doesn't count. It doesn't count because it wasn't what 2 month reign.
Yeah, 2 month reign. Well, and I mean, the IC belt is the workhorse mid card title,
It wasn't
right?
even a 2 month reign. I think it was like a 5 week reign.
Whatever. I mean, again, IC belt is a workhorse mid card title, which is what Jey Uso
Yeah.
was and is. And I mean, it's supposed to set up the guy to kind of build himself and then get into the main event scene. So I mean,
Or we might have the title match already.
what do you mean?
If CM Punk is the one that beat up Jey Uso,
No, Drew's the one to beat up Jey Uso. I think that's what they're alluding to. That's why Drew attacked Sammy at the end. Drew's
so
gonna tell
you think
Sammy,
Drew is
yeah,
the one
yeah,
that beat up Jey Uso.
yeah.
He's gonna say that he did it.
Yeah,
So you're gonna put so yeah, I didn't put two and two together because it was
yeah,
late when I watched it, and I texted you about it.
yeah. No worries.
I will say that you're gonna put Sammy in the match with Drew, right?
Yep.
And this is gonna be a feud that's not gonna end anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew's gonna be a foil to Sammy, not necessarily. Drew's gonna be the reason that Sammy stays out of the title picture.
Right.
Drew's also gonna be the reason that Jay stays out of the title picture. The only time that Jay would matter is if CM Punk calls in the favor to Paul to get that title match against Jay if Jay has the title.
Mm-hmm.
And CM Punk takes that title off Jay.
Right.
Now, Rollins would then use his influence to get the WrestleMania match against CM Punk.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. And that's what I think is going to happen anyways. I mean, that makes the most sense. I mean, most logical flow is just kind of go that direction.
I kind of feel like you want CM Punk to go into WrestleMania as the champion.
I really do, but I don't know if they're going to do it because I don't know. I mean, I really hope they do. I mean, I want CM Punk to be champ, or I want him to have a WrestleMania moment. He's never had a WrestleMania moment, CM Punk. It's kind of sad.
He needs to be. I think he needs to main event night one, and I don't think it needs to be against Roman.
No, Roman, Roman is not. Roman and CM Punk, their paths are done, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, CM Punk told Paul Heyman that he's going to owe him a favor at the end of the Survivor Series match, but it's clear to me Roman is going to focus on.
It doesn't have anything to do with Roman.
No, it has nothing to do with Roman.
Anything to do with Roman.
Exactly.
And
so I think
people need to get off the Punk versus Roman thing. It doesn't have anything to do with Roman. CM Punk does not care about taking down Roman Reigns. And CM Punk let everybody know this on Monday night when he said, "I don't think about you." And Rollins was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You used to have something that I wanted. Now you don't."
Exactly.
It was never personal. It was, you had something that I wanted, and I wanted it. The same thing with Drew. You had something that I wanted, so I wanted it. So it would make a lot of sense if Jey Uso won that title and CM Punk called in his favor to Paul and got that title off Jey Uso. Jey Uso might have only been a champion for a week. That's all he needs.
100%. So I have to get the lights on because
I know everybody's gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I think that Jey Uso can win that title from Finn Balor. I think Finn Balor beats Gunther. Mm-hmm. Jey Uso wins it from Finn Balor, and then CM Punk goes on a tear for the next 4 months as world champion, wins at WrestleMania, gets injured, drops the title, doesn't come back for 6 months.
Which makes the most sense. I mean, why not? Let CM Punk ride off to the sunset. Let him have his moment in the sun. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, let him come back. Let him win. Let him win either the Money in the Bank or let him win the Royal Rumble the next year, and that way you put him back in the picture. But he doesn't need the title again after that.
Exactly.
It's kind of like Michael's winning Elimination Chamber. He never needed another world heavyweight championship after that. He never did, because he cemented himself as a Grand Slam champion, which he already was before that.
Right.
But he cemented himself as a Grand Slam champion. He cemented himself as one of the greatest of all time. He didn't need 14 or 15 reigns because he was Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and I honestly think his second run was more impressive than his first run because when he came back 2002, from 2002 to 2010, no one was putting on more 5-star matches, with the exception of Kurt Angle. But no one was putting on more 5-star matches than Shawn Michaels during that time
He was
during that
fighting
span.
every week. He was fighting every week,
Yeah,
and both Undertaker matches. You can't tell me those weren't 5-star matches.
those are arguably. I was talking to another buddy about those are considered, in my opinion, the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. There's a strong case.
I can't think of a match better.
There really isn't. That's why. So, yeah, no, 100% agree.
I like the Flair match.
Mhm.
I really did. I think that was like people are gonna get mad at me for saying that, but that Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair retirement match was a 5-star match.
It was a great match. Lots of emotions. I'm sorry, I love you. Super, sweet chin music. So
Like it played into everything that we wanted. Like
right.
the second run of Michaels was probably one of the greatest runs of all time.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
the career rebirth of Michaels, like it like I don't you can't okay. That now this is the reason why people hate when I start talking about this, right? But I think that we're gonna both agree on this in the long run. Michael's second run might have been the GOAT run of the WWE.
Easily.
We're like look start with him his comeback all the way to his retirement.
100%. No, and that comeback, by the way, even though Hulk Hogan won comeback of the year that year, Michaels, in my opinion, definitely deserved that award. I mean, there was no question in my opinion.
Well, the match against Hogan was all Michaels anyway.
Well, I mean, and that match is 3
He
years later.
carried that match.
I'm talking about 2002, the first ever Elimination Chamber, the one we're talking about where Michaels became the world champion after four
Oh,
years of not wrestling.
fantastic match.
No,
Fantastic
and the
match.
whole comeback of the program Triple H, going into SummerSlam, right? That bad blood between them, that made so much sense, and you never saw that coming, right? And then the same thing, right? Then obviously, then you build into the Survivor Series match where Michael's coming back and fighting back from back injury, which was the kayfabe blended with reality, right? And so that to me really marked Michael's comeback to us too as the comeback of the year that year. And then to your
Well,
point,
and
yes,
then them fighting against Vince
yeah, 4 years
together.
later, yeah, fast forward, then then they're fighting against Vince, with
Because think
DX,
about
and
it, how long did the DX teaser drag on for?
I doubt John for a while. I mean, I honestly wasn't that big of a fan of the DX versus Shane and Vince and everything. It was
Well,
kind of
I liked it before it was DX again. I liked it when they were attacking Triple H, and
mhm.
I liked it when they were attacking Shawn Michaels, but separately.
Right.
And Triple H was kind of forced to help Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels was kind of forced to help Triple H. And then when that one moment when they were in the ring together, and they looked at each other, and they looked at the ground of the guys that were sitting there, and they were just like, and then they kind of just started DX again from there. The DX run with the comedy run, it was funny.
Yeah. It was
Was it?
funny, but it wasn't like it was.
It was a nostalgia thing they did, and
But
it was
no, that's my point. It wasn't.
cute. It sold a lot of T-shirts, but it wasn't.
It wasn't DX. It wasn't DX. It was not DX. Let's be honest, right? DX was not just two guys having fun and doing that. No, no, no. DX was counterculture. DX was going against the grain. DX was, going and invading WCW at the peak of the Monday Night Wars with a tank. DX was everything that you would not think, you know? That was DX in its essence. The late 90s Gen X angst movement, the Fight Club, that type of stuff, That's what DX was.
Yeah, like the original DX was fantastic.
Legendary.
The second version of DX was fantastic, and I think they only had like 3 or 4 matches in that whole second DX run. Well, third DX run technically. That whole the reunion run, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
The reunion run it was a triple threat, and Shawn kicked Triple H out the ring.
Right.
And I think that was a great match. But the one thing that I did like is um their ability to basically switch gears from this is not funny right now
Mm-hmm.
to we're serious wrestlers.
Well, I mean, I felt like they did that in the first
The
run
rest of it,
too.
the rest of it, all that Spirit Squad stuff, you could kind of throw that away.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but the thing is, I
Well, yeah, they
mean,
did,
yeah,
but it
yeah,
was way more often in that first run. It was way more often, and it was more or less like to be honest, they were trying to be offensive in the first run.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That's what DX
You
was.
know,
DX was all about being offensive. DX is all about being in your face. DX is all about, the second version, the second one was so watered down because the PG rating and everything, right? So you couldn't do the same things anymore.
yeah, they were doing fart jokes.
I mean,
You
come
know,
on now.
they were doing fart jokes, and Chef Shawn Michaels was really funny. You have to admit that.
I mean,
That was really funny.
the one thing was Triple H, dressed up as Vince and dancing when they played the Vince Stand Back, kind of vignette, from like
That
1985.
was funny. That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. I mean, but like outside of that, there wasn't too many moments for me. So
Well, there was one moment. There was one moment that we got that was probably the best moment of that entire run,
what was it?
and it was normally when we come out here, we tell you that we have two words for you, but today we got three words for you. Big Dick Johnson.
Yeah, no, that was good.
That was the goofiest, funniest thing from that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And Vince had a whole face full of Big Dick Johnson.
Yeah, no.
And but once again, this is where we're talking about this. Vince needed to exit the story.
Right.
He did not need to be in that story because that wouldn't have had one. It was hilarious, but we didn't need it.
And that's exactly my point. Like, I don't think Vince. I mean, well, they kind of did because DX was, in my opinion. We can agree to disagree on this. I thought it was so watered down and so childish that you kind of needed Vince and Shane in there to kind of give you some semblance of the original feel of going against the grain, counterculture, being rebellious, because it just wasn't the same anymore because of all the stuff that transpired since 1998, 1999 until 2006.
Yeah.
It shifted. The company shifted directions. Super Cena was the thing. There was no more. It was geared for kids. That's what DX.
Well,
Everything at that time was
everything
geared for.
was for kids. Everything.
Everything that they're doing at that time was geared for children. So I mean, I get it. And I get it. So all right,
So
moving
yeah,
it.
we can move on from there, obviously.
Yeah, I know we kind of went on tangent, but I really enjoyed kind of walking down memory lane. So let's talk about the next match, right? So yeah, see, but you know what? That was the main event and the first match.
Well, yeah,
That
Bronson's
was
injured, Jimmy's injured, and so is Jay. No, 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 not Jay. Bronson's injured, Jimmy's injured, and so is Jacob Fatu.
Jacob Fatu. Yeah. So let's move on to the next kind of major thing. I saw Chelsea Green. She won her U.S. title, women's title match tournament thing. But that was on
Yes,
SmackDown,
she
right?
did. That
That was
was on
SmackDown. Was that
SmackDown.
Raw? That
That
was
was
Raw, right?
SmackDown.
That's
That
okay.
was
Sorry,
SmackDown.
sorry. Raw has the IC belt thing. I don't even care about
I
that.
think
Okay.
Dakota Kai won the one
Oh yeah, Dakota
on
Kai.
Raw.
I fast. I did. Honestly, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Next was, I don't remember what was next. Oh yeah, Judgment Day's little segment backstage.
Oh
Finn
yeah,
Balor.
Judgment Day's backstage
Yeah,
segment,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then
Yeah,
JD basically just being in the background.
JD not saying anything, just being the lackey. I don't know why he's there, but anyways, that's an
Neither does
awesome
our
theory.
truth. Our truth doesn't know why he's there either.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Anyways, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, so yeah. Let's fast forward from that promo. Obviously, Finn and Gunther had the face off. Finn said, now I helped you twice to beat Damien. I need my title match. Gunther then says it goes to Dom. Gunther and Dom have their match. Nice little spot fest.
Very,
Finn,
very good match.
yeah. Dom is, again. We want to talk about guys coming to their own. Dom is
Dom
definitely
is
coming to his own.
Dom is a future world champion.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt. So,
It's
but
probably 5 years down the line, but he's a future world champion.
that's fine. He's 26, 27 years old. He can wait 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
he can wait 5 years.
Exactly. So, I mean, the point is back to, I love that match. And obviously that kind of set the stage because, Finn tried to interfere. Finn, you saw, kind of scowling at the end when Gunther still won. So basically Gunther and Finn, that they're going to build up to that. And we'll see how that program shapes up. Let's talk about my favorite moment of Raw. And what you and I are talking about at length, the New Day 10-year anniversary. Here we go, folks. I predicted initially Xavier Woods is going to turn heel. My partner here, co-host of the most, predicted Kofi's going to turn heel. You got elements of both throughout this whole build. New Day, Kofi and Xavier come out. Basically, they talk about, we thank the fans for everything, everything, you had the Bootios montage, all that stuff. And then basically the fans start chanting, we want E. We want, yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to tell you what's happening here.
Go ahead, please.
I've been on Twitter.
Yeah.
Guys, prepare yourself for a whirlwind New Day resurgence. But this is going to not be comfortable for anyone. And let's face the facts. Xavier was right. They got stale. And Kofi was right. They got stale. Big E coming back into the fold for the celebration only means one thing. Big E was on the internet talking about if that was my last appearance and I'm retiring like that. And then Xavier saying, you are never going to be cleared. They will never say that on WWE TV unless he's coming back.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean,
Big E will be back,
oh
but it's
man.
gonna be after this long. It'll probably culminate at WrestleMania because they're not gonna keep the New Day as heels for too long. They're gonna have their heel run and they're gonna have a great time, and they might even get more fans by being heels than they did for their stale run towards the end now because Finn and JD need challengers, and only the War Raiders are viable tag teams against them on Raw. Because the Usos are not about to tag again, not right now. They're not going to go back to the tag division right now. That's not happening. Um, Jimmy hasn't even had his solo run yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jimmy's going to get a solo run, and as you can see, Jimmy was a better wrestler than Jay.
Yeah.
Jimmy was a better wrestler than Jay. And you're starting to see that. A lot of the moves that Jay executes are great, but Jimmy does them better. And he always did.
But no, I mean, it's not just being a wrestler, bro. You gotta be able to sell.
Jay has more of a presence than Jimmy.
Jay is the highest selling merchandise superstar in the last 2 months.
Oh, I'm not. This is no shade against Jay.
I'm just saying. I mean,
Jay is way more of an
your
interesting
point. Your
prospect.
point is valid. Your point's absolutely valid. Jimmy can work. I 100% agree with you. The point
He
is
needs
though,
character work.
Jay has it. He has it.
That's why I picked Jay to win the world heavyweight title, even if it's only going to be for a week.
Right.
Even if it's only for a week, he's going to win it. It's only going to be for a week. And I think all of this ties into. I hate to say it, but I don't think anybody's better at nostalgia bait than Triple H.
No, why do you hate to say that? Why do you hate to say that? That is a compliment to him as head of creative. You know, and actually, I don't. Let's not pivot. Let's stay on track. Let's talk about this. What you just said, because you just basically dropped a bombshell. You are saying Big E is going to come back and not just come back like in a non performing capacity, but actually as a full-time performer wrestling again. That's what you're saying.
Oh, Big E's coming back.
Oh my gosh. Oof. See,
they would not have. I can't say certain words on here.
No, go ahead and say no. You can say no. You can say it, please.
They would not. I'll use the sanitized version. They would not have graped Big E on national television if he wasn't coming back.
Yeah, they wouldn't have fucked Big E like that and insulted his manhood.
Is Marcellus Wallace?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying, bro? And no, like when Kofi said Stone Cold Steve Austin broke his neck, he came back. Kurt Angle broke his neck, he came back. He said CM Punk. Oh no, Edge broke his neck.
How many times did they mention that he didn't have surgery and he didn't need it?
Golly, no. But and to your point about nostalgia, I mean, oh my god, like Kofi tapping into Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, like bro, greatest. I mean, god,
we are on. CM Punk started it. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and I think there wasn't nothing else of consequence that we haven't talked about already on the show.
There's nothing else that's interesting to me. I mean, and to be honest,
there's nothing else of consequence that was on that show on Monday Night Raw. But I want you guys to remember that we said it first. Big E is coming back. It's not going to look like he's coming back, but he is. Because there was no. I was waiting for this. I saw the Twitter thing first before I watched the episode. And I was like, why is Big E talking about his retirement when that doesn't look like a retirement on television? But it's to sell them turning heel.
Yeah,
And I'm not gonna. I'll say Big E might come back as a heel with them.
I
I
don't
think that he
know.
comes back and they treat him like crap some more.
I don't
And
know.
there's gonna be a New Day reunion that we already know that because Big E's girlfriend got in on it.
But no, you're right on. I can see that Biggie coming back, trying to get in the good graces. I can see all of that. Like you're right, the girlfriend, everything. But I don't know if if Biggie's gonna come back and they're gonna be like this mighty kind of like this heel faction. I think I do for sure think Xavier and Kofi are now definitely turning heel. Um, and I think Big E is gonna be a face. And we're gonna see how it shapes out, bro. It's gonna be interesting. I think you froze, but yeah, no, I mean, I think that wraps it up for WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, Survivor Series, WWE Raw. Great segments, great spots, great storylines. WWE knocked it out of the park again. To have the Raw after Survivor Series. Oh, and he's back. Okay, I was just saying before you drop. I don't know if I can see Big E coming back and being in the good graces. I mean, what they said, bro, that's kind of unforgivable. I mean, to say that about like someone's neck and someone's livelihood, I mean that's kind of tough. You there?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. I just came back.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that we just gotta wait and see, and I think that might be the perfect spot for us to end the day.
yeah. I mean, I am so intrigued with the New Day coming. I mean, I, I thought first. So this, first I thought Xavier's going to turn heel. He's going to become a solo contender for the world title because he's been held down for so long. Then it looks like Kofi's going to turn heel, and Xavier's going to be like this new up and coming face who's going to be thrust in the main event picture against Kofi. And now it looks like Big E came back, and they were going to break up the New Day. Xavier alluded to it on Raw, and now it looks like they're gonna the New Day. Both of them are turning heel, and Big E might come back as a face. Like, holy crap, dude! I mean that those are bombshells. I mean, man, let's see, let's see. We'll find
Yes,
out.
sir.
We'll find out. Anyways, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in once again. Shout out to everyone who tunes in on the social media platforms. For my man Cortez Soul Reaper 24. Subscribe to him. Follow him on IG. Continue following us on Twitter. Follow us on Spotify, Pocket Cast, wherever you get your podcasts. Spread the word. Share this episode. Share the channel. If you like the content, keep spreading. I appreciate everyone who's organically following. Just watching the shorts or watching these clips. I'm definitely good at bowling, so I appreciate that. But anyways, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. Once again, DDOG Podcast. Follow us on IG. Follow us on X. Follow at SoulWeaver24 on Instagram. Follow Cortez Branch Jr. on Facebook. Subscribe, follow, share, spread the word, and we'll be back next week to talk some Bears Niners,
It's gonna be fun.
and we're going to be talking about SmackDown after Survivor Series and Raw after Survivor Series. Thank you all once again. God bless. Have a great rest of the week and a great weekend.